Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate all of you who are in the audience this evening for the September the 20th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the City of Longview, and I'm now calling the meeting to order. At this time, I'm going to ask that you please stand for the invocation, which will be given by Commissioner Chad, and remain standing for the pledge.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for your many blessings, and just thank you for this opportunity to serve in this capacity, Lord, and we just pray that we make the best decisions on behalf of the city, Father, and we pray for everyone involved. We just pray for everyone throughout the rest of this week. In your name I pray. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. The next item is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was held in August. Has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes? Anybody need more time? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Any discussion on them? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We've now reached the citizen comment portion of our meeting. These are comments that are made other than the public hearing, which we'll have later in the meeting this evening. But if there's anyone in the audience that wants to speak the citizen comment part, if you wish to speak on an item of the agenda, then you'll need to wait until later. Is there anyone who would like to speak at the citizen comment? I see none. So we're going to move on to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are the plats that meet the requirement of the City of Longview subdivision ordinance. The items will be approved with one vote unless there is any member of the Planning and Zoning Commission or any member of the public or the applicant who would like any item actually removed and placed on the regular agenda. Would anyone like for one of the items to be removed? I see none, so again, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Now on to the regular agenda. The purpose of the meeting is to hear all pertinent testimony for those in support and of those in opposition to the applications that have been made to the Commission for zoning changes. Procedure for the public hearing is to be followed. Tonight would be, first of all, we'll have the staff report, which will be explaining the item. Then we will have the applicant, and then the general public, those who are in favor and those who are against, in opposition to the request. If you're part of a large group, which I really don't see a large group here, but if you were part of a large group, we would ask you to appoint a spokesperson to speak on your behalf instead of having everyone addressing the commission. When all sides have spoken, the public hearing of the matter will be closed. No further public discussion will be entertained. And after each public hearing is closed, the commission will vote on the request. We're going to move on to item A of the regular agenda. Angela?
Thank you. Public hearing will be held to consider application S22-08 filed by Brad Beal, requesting a specific use permit to allow for a one-family dwelling in heavy commercial zoning district for approximately 1.02 acres of abstract 4 IC Gilleran Survey, Tract 71, Section 1, located at 5809 West Marshall. The applicant is requesting a specific use permit for an existing single-family home located on West Marshall Avenue, currently zoned heavy commercial. A specific use permit is required for one-family dwellings in heavy commercial zoning districts to ensure no negative impact on surrounding properties. Currently, there are several single-family homes scattered throughout the block. Marshall Avenue is a principal roadway and is maintained by TxDOT. Staff finds that the proposed zoning change is consistent with surrounding uses, therefore it does not constitute spot zoning. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Does anyone have any questions for Angela at this point? Is the applicant present?
I'm Representative Jeff Ramsey.
Oh, okay, Jeff, please approach the microphone, speak into the microphone, state your name and your address, please.
Jeff Ramsey, 1405 Lago Trail, Longview, Texas, 75604.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm representing the seller on that property, and I'm here on behalf of the seller and the buyer, if you will, simply because the property was put up to be sold as residential. The current owner has lived there for the past 8 to 10 years as residential, and we put it back on the market to sell as residential, and it's being purchased as residential. The reason we need to get this
Specific use permit?
specific use permit, thank you, is because the lender of the buyer is requiring that because the zoning on this is shown as be commercial, and they've tried getting a couple of appraisers to go out and appraise it, and the appraisers will not go out and appraise it as a residential use unless they have a specific use permit there. The intent of the buyers is to continue using it as a single family residential.
I have one question here. Is this the Brewer house or is it next door to them?
No, sir, it's not the Brewer house.
Okay.
This is just a small frame house, pier and beam home. So,
Does the commission have any questions at this point of the applicant? Thank you, Jeff.
thank you, sir.
I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone in support of this request that would like to speak for it at this time? Seeing none, or is there any opposition to this request that would like to speak at this time? I see none. Any additional comments or questions? If there's no additional questions or comments, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll now entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. We're now on item B of the regular agenda. Angela?
Yes, sir. A public hearing will be held to consider application Z22-20 filed by Casey Evans requesting a rezone from agricultural to single-family 2 zoning district for approximately 45.057 acres of abstract 360 of the A. Jordan survey located on the south side of Smelly Road, east of FM 2208. As you can see here, the applicant is requesting to rezone the property on the south side of Smelly Road, east of FM 2208. Currently, at this time, this property resides outside the city limits, and the annexation will run concurrently with the zoning request. The applicant has requested annexation into the city. This request will be heard on October the 13th along the same time as the rezone request. So when annexation does occur, property that is automatically assigned an agricultural zoning designation when it's annexed into the city. Therefore, the applicant who wants to develop a residential subdivision will need to rezone the property. So the applicant is requesting to rezone this property for a residential subdivision for approximately 73 lots. Smelly Road is classified as an arterial roadway and is maintained by Harrison County. This type of development is appropriate along this roadway as long as access management is followed. Staff finds the proposed zoning change is consistent with our comprehensive plan and adjacent uses. Therefore, it does not constitute spot zoning, so I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions of Angela by any of the commissioners?
With that size of subdivision, if it ends up being one full subdivision, how many entrance and exits are they supposed to have?
They will have 2.
2.
Yeah.
Any other questions of Angela? Is the applicant present? I see none. I'll now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support? See none. Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? I see none. Any additional questions or comments? If there's no additional questions or comments, then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion? Do we have a second? Have a second? Patrick, did you get it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We're now to item C of the regular agenda. Angela?
Yes, sir. A public hearing will be held to consider application HL 22-01 filed by the Longview Museum of Fine Arts requesting a local historic landmark designation for a structure known as the Longview National Bank located at 213 North Fredonia Street. So the applicant is requesting a historic landmark designation for the Longview National Bank. If approved, this would be Longview's 11th local landmark. The building is located at 213 North Fredonia Street, which is south of Gregg County Courthouse. The original two-story structure, as you see here in this picture, was built in 1940 with an Art Moderne facade, and currently occupies the southwest portion of the space adjacent to Bank Alley. The building was expanded upon in 1958 with the help of architect B.W. Crane. The current building is a two-story structure with a basement and a two-story garage with a drive-through banking corridor. And so the building encapsulated this existing building shown here in this picture. The building has a exterior facade with white Alabama marble and gray granite panels with a concealed parking garage on the north side facing Methvin Street. The interior has many design features that the museum will preserve, including terrazzo floors, white Alabama marble columns, a custom-designed mosaic counter by Aber Mears, and a wire sculpture known as the Great Lone Star by a noted sculptor, Richard Lippold. As many of you all know, Longview native B.W. Crane is a noted architect with the architectural firm Wilson, Morrison, Crane, and Anderson. He designed this building along with many other buildings throughout Longview and Texas. In addition to this building, his firm also designed the Petroleum Building, Trinity Episcopal Church, and First Baptist, as well as many private residences, and is also known, his firm designed the Frank Irwin Center, which has now been demolished. Guarantee Bank was formed in Longview, Texas in 1912 and was sold to F.T. Rembert in 1918. Mr. Rembert moved the bank to 101 South Fredonia Street the following year and renamed it Rembert National Bank in 23. In 1932, he relocated the bank to 214 North Fredonia, directly across from the present-day Longview National Bank location. In 1940, the bank was renamed to Longview National Bank, and they built their facility there. Local landmarks must meet the criteria listed in our Unified Development Code, and this building embodies many of those characteristics. And with that, the Historic Preservation Commission, along with staff, recommends approval of this request. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any commissioner?
Angela, how many, you're saying it encompasses the garage also?
Yes, sir.
So anything, if it is designated as a historic landmark, nothing can be done with that building then, is that correct?
Well, so anything to the exterior of the building has to go back before the Landmark Commission, the local Landmark Commission. The museum, they are well aware of that because they are also applying for federal historic tax credits. And with that, the National Park Service is going to review any exterior or interior renovations to this building.
Anyone else have a question for Angela?
I was just in the building last week, and I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's going to be good for downtown, so.
That was my question, was with the interior, because they're saying 37,000 square feet that's not being used. If they wanted to switch up possibly at a later date to residential instead of office space, to move forward with moving the Main Street goal is to have some residential down there, right?
Yeah, I mean, so our goal in our comprehensive plan, in our downtown plan, is to have residential in downtown. I don't think that's the plan for the Longview Museum of Fine Arts. They can talk about it, but I don't think that's their plan, is to put residential in this building.
So anything regardless would have to go before the historical landmark.
Well, anything to the exterior of the building would
Okay,
have
but
to
not to
go.
the interior.
Yeah, so on the interior, no, the local preservation commission, the local landmark
Oh,
commission
the
doesn't look at anything on the interior. Now, because they are applying for federal historic tax credits, the National Park Service, along with Texas Historical Commission, will look at the interior of the building to ensure that they preserve certain features,
Okay.
but nothing from a local standpoint.
Okay, I think some of your questions may be answered by the applicant. Is the applicant here? I think there's two representatives probably. If you'll speak into the microphone, state your name and your address, please.
Tiffany Jahoric, I'm the director of the museum and 701 Pine Street, 75601.
Stacy Odom, I am the design consultant for the building and LMFA. Oh, 1911 Warwick Circle West.
Okay, would you like to state your plans or whatever?
Happy to. It's a great plan. It's about 50,000 square feet. The outside of the building really will stay like it is. We'll do a little bit of a welcome mat at the front to fix the sidewalk where there's some issues, but that doesn't change anything. The parking garage, we're adding signage. You'll see where it says Longview Museum of Fine Arts. If you look back to older photos, it's the same Helvetica font that said Longview National Bank, about in the same position. So we're giving a nod back to the history. The building will be known for art and architecture and how we preserved the banking history. The outdoor space that you saw, if you go back to some of the new renderings, there will be 7,700 square feet of public access space. So the little courtyard area will be more functional in use, and it'll be connected. You'll see there's a little doorway. So that would probably be the one alteration to the exterior, so that those two areas can connect to the what we're calling the porte-cochere park. So the teller drive-through will now have use. It'll be a place where you can sit and have a coffee. We're turning the teller windows into sculptured display art boxes. The historic preservation from the National Historic Preservation has allowed us to lift the ceilings a little bit. We can add some kinetic art. So we're really excited about what this means for the Cultural Arts District and what it can mean for the city and the region.
Okay, before we go to the public hearing, does anyone have any questions of the applicant or the staff at this point?
So,
Go ahead.
So with that extra space, unused space, do you guys plan on leasing it out, or how?
No, well, I mean, there might be cocktail parties or something, or we can, if events and things that we'll use this outdoor space for. But the second floor is where the rental, we have 10 tenants, but it's not residential. So there's a law office, an advertising agency, a claims adjuster. And so that helps us pay for the expense of the building. So we'll be keeping those. And anyway, we hope to start construction maybe next summer. That's the plan.
What are the plans for the first floor?
So the first floor is the 2 galleries that'll become museum space for the public to enjoy. So a big gallery. There'll also be a visual vault where the permanent collection is stored behind the mosaic counter that you saw pictures of. And then in the 1940s section, another large gallery space. And the mezzanine level will have a conference room and library that the public can reserve to use. And it's beautiful. It's walnut paneling. There's a fireplace in there. And then we have an extensive art library that researchers can use there. So
The bank vaults and their doors will also be preserved and restored, so people will be able to see the actual circle vault doors and participate in that. So the ground floor basically stays the same. We just hang art on the walls, and we're preserving the teak and just kind of putting up, a couple of doorways and partitions to create a back of house for the art handlers and staff. The lower level has the biggest change, so we will be moving some of the non-structural walls just to create office spaces downstairs, but instead of, they have currently, the bank used to have an auditorium and a conference room and a cafeteria, and maids' quarters. So when we're finished with it, we will have a children's gallery, a lower level family gallery, a skylight gallery. So you can see where the blue is on the far right. Yeah, exactly right there. So that is the red kiosk. So that's where people used to go to to pick up their car for the valet. So we'll be opening the floor for that. So you'll be able to see from ground level down into the lower level or the basement, and that will be a skylight gallery. So it'll bring natural light down from the outside in, and people down below will be able to look up and see kind of through on an angle, and then we'll have a nice artistic hanging sculpture piece of art there as well. So we'll have 3 total galleries downstairs. We'll have an art studio classroom. We'll have a lecture hall that can be used by people in the area and public, that will have all of the equipment to hook up to Wi-Fi and to do podcasts or lectures or teachings, whatever they want. And then we'll have staff offices and a pantry, a archive library, and storage. So a big elevator. Oh, yeah, and an elevator large enough for a gurney for the EMS, because the current elevators in the lobby, built in 1960, aren't large enough to fit that capacity. So.
Any questions of the applicant before I open the public hearing?
I've got one more question. Just
Okay.
10 years from now, let's say this doesn't work out. Didn't happen like you wanted it to. Being a historical site, could restaurants come in there and renovate, move in?
I suppose anything's possible, but it ain't gonna happen.
I don't think Tiffany's gonna let go of the building. It's her dream
No.
for it to be the museum, but.
Well, and we
understand.
could. Anything's possible. There is equipment and stuff for a restaurant that was in the basement. We're taking a lot of that out. I mean, I've seen other banks that have been turned into restaurants or wine bars. We hope to put eventually a restaurant on the rooftop, and there's plans that have already been drawn up for that and lots of interest. So still looking for those partners. But the museum's been around since 1958, and this has not been a small step that the board of directors has taken, and so a lot of fiduciary responsibility and a lot of work. And it's a project that we thought was around $8 million, and it's about doubled. So by the time we invest this in it, we're here to stay for a while.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I am opening the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of the request? If so, if you'll come to the microphone. Anyone like to speak in opposition to the request? I see none, so I'll close the public hearing. I'll make one comment here. I'm excited to see what's happening downtown Longview and appreciate the work that y'all are doing. So,
Thank you.
very much. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hear none.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. The last item on the agenda is the staff update. Angela?
And we didn't have any zoning items go to council last month because we didn't have any zoning items on the last agenda for August. So I will give you all a staff update next month.
Yeah, everything that we did tonight will go to the city council, which meets
October the 13th. Yes, sir.
October 13th. This is going to conclude today's meeting. Our next meeting is October the 18th, and we're now adjourned.